Yeah, and we're live. G'day everyone, it's Crypto Trader Vader here, chatting with Doug from Digital Currency Traders, and we're going to be
Morning.
going over some markets here. I'm pretty excited to do it. Should I say subscribe and a thumbs up if you want to see more of this stuff, and hopefully we'll do a few more of these. So welcome, Doug.
Thanks for having me on, Crypto Vader Dave.
Always excited to have a look at these markets and put the simple trading plan from the course into action and hopefully see and find some opportunities here. So I guess we should just start and just have a look at maybe the Bitcoin markets.
Sure, you mind if I share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's have a look.
Let's share this one.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, so you can see Bitcoin prices here from the December of 2017. Can you see my mouse as well?
Yeah, I can see a mouse and everything there.
So if I draw a circle here, this was exactly when futures trading began with Bitcoin. And the prices were shorted down very hard, all the way down to, the $6,000 level. And now we have a 1, 2, 3 bottom formation shaping up. So now we have the number 1 point here. This we could call the number 2, and this is the number 3 point. So prices are ranging in between these levels. And they did this for a long time in 2015 before they finally made a slow and steady rise, and then they started just breaking and kept going up for more than 18 months. So I expect that prices are going to stay inside this range for a while yet, and there's no panic at all for the prices to be coming back, say, anywhere inside this range. If prices were to be coming back in here and really making a retest to make it look like prices are going to break lower, this would be actually a healthy thing for the upside. It would really help us cement in so that when the prices did break above this level, it has some real backing behind it. And it's not just a little pop above it that may be a fake out breakout. So I'm expecting that there's going to be some more time before the big next wave comes in. And I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I want Bitcoin to go up. But this is what I'm seeing, that if this were to happen, it wouldn't cause me any kind of concern at all. How about your view of Bitcoin? What do you see?
So you're playing there with. I'll whip up my screen because I think when I talk, it brings the visuals to me. So let me just share this graph that I have here. Oh, I should turn off my Flux because that's probably making things a little yellow. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, that looks good.
So this is I'm using bigger, just broader candles for 3 days, just so we can get a clearer picture of the big run up. So what you're essentially describing is this this 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
There, and there, right?
Yeah, that's a much larger view of the 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm. And so we have kind of this enthusiasm where people have gotten very excited that, oh, it's all over and it's going to go straight back up again. But of course, I have and you have been through these sort of huge bull markets before, and of course there is some enthusiasm when it does start to return, but ultimately as that enthusiasm wanes, the market suffers. But if what you're describing happens, that'll I mean, it doesn't seem implausible for that to happen. And if you look at this kind of line here, we have Bitcoin breaking up when it got way too enthusiastic, and it did kind of test this level again and on the way back down, and then of course eventually broke through, came up to try and break back above that line, but of course failed, and it's adhered to that trend ever since. So if that is true, then we essentially have a bit of a what do they call it? A pennant, where
triangle formation. I always
like a triangle, yeah, so a little flag. And of course, it's going to break out one of these ways. And now this is something that maybe is a bit more anecdotal, but one thing that I have noticed with these sort of pennants is that the price will go like this, but it'll actually break the opposite way, and I think that's to do with manipulation, where the manipulators are pushing the price down to try and kick out people's stop losses because people are looking at this formation, and then the price turns around. I've noticed that with a lot of altcoins.
I would have to agree with that, and it's one of my conspiracy theories about the manipulation that goes on in all of these markets, is especially at times when the formation is really looking bullish or bearish and everybody's lined up in their positions. Then the artificial intelligence bots can actually scan all of the exchanges all at the same time. They can see the order books for all the exchanges at all the same time, and it's pretty quick to do the mathematics for these computer programs to figure out exactly how much they have to sell to push past everybody's stop loss orders, to cascade the market down further where they have all of their buy orders set up. And so if 1,000 people lose $1,000, that's not a very big move. Those bots are making $1 million on that trade.
Yep.
And it's just a quick little manipulation, and they're making millions and millions just by those quick market moves. And I think that happens over and over and over and over. It's just human nature. And it's actually made me change my 1, 2, 3 formation trading so that I'm more vigilant on that. Let me clear my Bitcoin chart here of these details, and I'm going to share my screen again.
I think what you're saying is correct, man. And like, gone are the days where manipulators are taking, stabs in the dark, or calculated risks when it comes to pushing the price down lower. I think what you're describing essentially is that a bot is calculating how far it has to push, or if there is even an opportunity to push the market down to a point where stops are hit, and then it goes and buys up down the bottom. And of course, people's panic and people's psychology only assists that falling price.
Yep, exactly. And so then you have two forces in the market working. People, the bots selling, people's stop losses being hit, and that pushes the market down further where the bots have already calculated where they're going to have their buy orders in. And it happens all the time at potential breakout patterns.
Yep.
Excuse me. And the breakout patterns work either to the top side or to the bottom side. So there was a lot of people here buying in on this breakout, and they were right for a little while, and then prices got hammered down. Every time that there's a little wee break up, then the prices were hammered down. So there's a 1, 2, 3 bottom formation breakout, prices are hammered down. Breakout, prices are hammered down. All the way along here, as the prices are coming down, there's a potential breakout and hammered down. And then it started turning around and going the other way, so that there was a potential drop off, and then the prices were run up. And then the prices came right down to below technical levels, just below, and then the prices were runway up and runway up. So when you're trading in the 15-minute bars, you are getting yourself into the range of being whale food.
Yeah,
and
you did mention that.
I went through all of my historical trades using coin tracking, and I found that a year and a half ago, I was really over trading. I was really zoomed into the market, and I lost quite a bit of money because I was in and out and in and out. In one of my trading accounts, though, I traded differently, where I only traded on this 3-month moving average crossover, and I didn't do anything until the moving average crossed over again over here. And in that trading account, of course, I didn't have to do very much work, and I made the most profits. So I've adjusted most of my trading now to step back away from the manipulating bots and look for that moving average crossover and only trade then.
And it's happened.
So I did make my trades when this moving average crossed over. And I'm also sitting back and I'm not worrying about little pullbacks while the prices are above my moving average combination here. So all the way through the uptrend, the prices stayed pretty much above this moving average combination. And so as soon as it crossed over, then it's time to start getting out.
Yep.
While it's within that area, I'm fine to hold on to it. We can see another example over here where the moving average crossed over and then it crossed over again. So I have to be vigilant for that now. I've entered, but I still have to be ready to get out. And by stepping back to this kind of time frame, I find that the trading takes less effort, it takes less time, it's less stressful, and the results take care of themselves rather than me trying to take care of the results.
That's right, because ultimately you're trading for freedom. You're not trading because you enjoy the stress of trading 14 hours a day. You want to create more time in your life to do other things, right?
This is the purpose of trading, is to have your money work for you rather than you working for your money. So the purpose of this, sort of cut you off there before, as you're getting in, but the purpose of today's video is to go over that simple trading plan in action and look at different markets. So we are taking a look at Bitcoin here and talking about how that simple trading plan actually works. And so we're looking at the 3-month view, and I'll just quickly review the simple trading plan because it is that simple. I'm going to go to a trend line, and we can see where the trend line was broken. We can see a 1, 2, 3 bottom formation right in here.
Sorry,
Inside.
I'm just. Can you share your screen there?
Oh my goodness! Share my screen. Share. Present to everyone. I think this is the first time I actually shared my screen properly.
No, it's. I don't think you have to present to everyone. I think that if you click present to everyone, us talking over the top of it doesn't change the camera to ourselves. But if we're having it, if you just have share your screen, that it'll only present when you're talking.
All right, I'll have to rewatch this afterwards, and I'll get better at this.
Cool.
So now just a quick review of the simple trading plan. And in this time frame, here's the trend line. And this has to be redrawn every day if you're still in the downtrend, so that you can keep that trend line on the recent highs.
Yep.
And then the second part of the simple trading plan is to look for the 1, 2, 3 bottom formation, also called the W formation by the rational investor. And he and I both learned it back in the 1990s from Ken Roberts, this 1, 2, 3 bottom formation. And so now combining it with the moving average, with the downtrend line break, I've also put in here a 20 and 60 period exponential moving average. And we can see the breakover, or the crossover of that occurred right here. And that is the buy signal.
Yep.
And so we're trying to stay in the trend for a long period of time and protect against the fake out breakout. So in this video, I won't talk too much about the risk control rules, but there are so many fake out breakouts in the 1, 2, 3 bottom formations that it's important to have risk control rules, because that's the moment where the bots are most likely to be manipulating the prices.
And trading on the 1, 2, 3 alone is essentially leaving you open to these fake out breakouts. To, you're being riskier with your approach, right?
I would say so. And the 1, 2, 3 bottom formation is a contrarian trading plan. And right now, if you flip it over, it is the 1, 2, 3 top formation. And if we zoom in on this market, we can see the 1, 2, 3 little wee 1, 2, 3 top formation here. It made a bigger 1, 2, 3 here, and now it's just breaching and making a bigger 1, 2, 3 in here. 1, 2, 3, and down it's breaking. So these 1, 2, 3s, they become more and more profound as the time frame increases and you zoom back, and the bots can manipulate it when it's in a small time frame, but they can't move it huge amounts yet. So by stepping back to this 3-month view and trading here, giving the market room to move gives you a little bit of protection or buffer from the reach of those price manipulating bots, gives you some more free time, but it also takes more patience, I think. Let me stop sharing my screen now.
So let me share mine here, because I want to play devil's advocate with this
Awesome.
simple trading plan. So let me just delete some of these old crappy lines here, and I'll make this a nice bright yellow for us, all right? So you can see that, okay?
Yep.
So we're on the 12-hour candle. We're on Bitcoin US dollar, and we're finding the downward trend line. Which, if we're sitting at mid early March, we essentially have what is a 1, 2, 3 bottom formation here. We have a breach of this trend line, and
Yep.
we have that EMA crossing over. So what in that instance where obviously we can't expect things like this to work 100% of the time. This is why we're dealing with probability. But what sort of things can I do to protect myself from this sort of fake out? Because this to me looks like the downtrend line is breached right at this point, right around here. There's already a crossover with the EMA, and we have a smaller 1, 2, 3 bottom here with a larger 1, 2, 3 bottom. So all indications at this point would be like, well, maybe this is the turnaround.
There's a couple different ways to play that. And one of the things that I do is I enter using the 3-month moving average crossover, but then I exit using the 1-month moving average crossover.
And
so
what candle is that? The 1
it
month
would
is
be the 4-hour
right.
candle. But entering on the 4-hour candle, you get whipsawed a lot. You're in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah,
It does work if you are vigilant on getting out when they cross over. You see a lot of opportunity where you could get out and short when they cross over, and you'd be certainly making some profit on that formation, and then get back in long when it crosses over the other way, short when it crosses over the other way. It takes a lot of vigilance to trade this way.
In the long term, in the longer term markets, there's, from my perspective, it would be more certain. So the longer time frame we're looking for this 1, 2, 3 as example, where this yellow line is down here, we've got a 1, 2, 3 bottom, a very large one.
Yeah,
The
if you
longer
go
that
to the
time frame, the better, right?
take a look at the 1-day candles instead of the 4-hour. And then you can see that moving average actually never did cross over on the 1-day moving average. So the longer the time frame, the more smooth your entries and exits are, the less that you are jumping in and out of the markets, less that you have to do. And you can also see that 1-day moving average has crossed over recently.
Yeah,
so
right here.
It's a significant, when you smooth it out more and more like that, you could do the 5-year moving average even, and you'd see that the buy in October of 2017, or actually it was September 2015, that was the moment. And nothing is said
Back
get
here.
out in the 5-year, in the 1-week charts. Nothing is said get out yet.
I mean, it's exciting when you come back and look at these sort of charts, and you see, this is the last time that the daily 2060 EMA has crossed over here. The run up, the subsequent run up from 600 to essentially 20,000. I mean, it was 19, but we'll call it 20.
Yeah.
So from 600 to 20, where is this landing? Where is this market going? Just give me your most crazy, outlandish, bullish perspective if that's what you have. Where is this going to land? It's at 8,000 now. It's crossing over. It has a potential to continue upwards. Where will it stop? I'm going to stop my screen here as well.
I'm really bullish and biased. I want it to go to $80,000 over the next while. When it was at $720, I said to my wife, man, it's going to $2,500. Look at this. And that was when it was at $7,200 and hadn't broken 1,000 again yet. And then it went up to $2,500, and I was looking at the chart and said, this still looks like it's just building for the big wave up. It doesn't even look like that big wave has started yet. And the further you step back in Bitcoin, the bigger this wave up appears to be, where you can just do a big long trend line from May. Let me share my screen so that I'm not just... So if you look at this massive long trend line, it's still lots of time for it to be building, to be going up for an actual up move, and these are going to look small in the future. As it was passing 2,500 and I was looking up, I was getting that vertigo feeling, thinking, wow, it still looks like it's accelerating how it's going up. Then I was wondering, what would the chart look like if it does go to what they predict as, say, 100,000 or $1 million per Bitcoin? What will that chart look like on its way up? It's impossible to think about it in the future, and nobody would believe you if you had said this was going to come up, right? The
No
way it
one.
has. So for me to say that it looks like it's going to go to $80,000 sounds ridiculous. And yet we've seen that ridiculous already happen and then happen again. And I believe this in Bitcoin. So I also want to point out that I believe that Litecoin is going to be going 10 times higher in the very next short time. Because all of these digital assets now are getting worldwide recognition for their viability, the world is moving into these things. And if you zoom out to a 1 week view and take a look at the trend line, just cutting in the middle of where prices are, it really looks to me like Litecoin is about to stage and move way higher.
Wow. It does look incredible.
And so if Bitcoin has done this, right, and I got fooled, I didn't hold all the Bitcoin that I had. I held a whole bunch of altcoins, which went down in value. Over the summer of 2017, I did fantastic till June and July and took some huge profits. And then I didn't hold Bitcoin from July until December. I held my alts. And if I had held Bitcoin, I had over 40 of them, I would have done very much better than if I held my alts, which all went down 25 or 75% in value. But I still believe that the altcoins are at the very beginning of what Bitcoin already has done for us. The altcoins are here, and that we are going to see waves and waves of altcoins moving up. And if we look at the time frame of this is a 2-year, 2.5-year period, 3-year period before the altcoins really wave and wave and wave again to these incredible heights. So what I'm doing now, what I'm focusing on now, is to go into Poloniex and pay attention to this long-term 5-year view, pay attention to that 1-year moving average to see where is that, when does that cross over in all of these markets. When that 1-year moving average crosses over, I want to have a piece of this market and then just sit on it for that long-term move that's going to come up and go like Bitcoin has, staging and staging and staging again for the next 18 months, maybe, is sort of what I've got in mind in the long term. Just looking at these massive 1, 2, 3 bottom formations shaping up that has taken over a year and a half of building. We had a little pump here and over a year and a half of building in this massive formation. So if you take this, what thing do I have here? If you take this line and you stand it straight up, that's how high this market is heading to go.
Nice.
And we can see that same pattern in all these alts right now. People will say, well, that's crazy. Can't believe it. It's true. How can you? And I would say that you're right. That is crazy, but Bitcoin has already done it. So I want to be prepared for it. It's that old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I don't want to let these altcoins fool me. I want to have a piece of them and then sit back and really watch this in the longer term view.
Yep. You know that old bubble image. Actually, let me pull it up here. We can view it together. Yeah, this one here. This classic. You know, this old image has been floating around a long time.
Yeah, that's one of them. There's another one that.
What if we're in the bear trap here? This is the first sell-off. This is after this is where the institutional investors are getting in. This is, you know, you hear the likes of JP Morgan buying up Circle. You hear, the likes of the other banks, getting into trading. This is where we are. We're not here. We're here.
Yes, and I would believe that this would give us the $80,000 to $120,000 view in another 18 months from where we are now. Then, if we are in the bear trap, and the institutional investors are actually putting their might into this, then the news will get out more to the public than it is just to the little crypto sphere that I think many of us are in our own little group think, where we all watch crypto things on Twitter, we all watch crypto videos, and we all think crypto, but the rest of the world really hasn't.
That's right. Yeah, wow.
There's another meme or picture out there that shows Bitcoin adoption versus the microwave oven and other technologies as that swept up. And there's that sort of an S curve as the slowly being picked up by the first people. And then it goes straight up as everybody's getting picked up. And then that curve fades off at the top as very few more new people are getting into it.
Yeah, and that's all about adoption, right? And I think that is what's happening, because I heard today in Australia we had a release of the budget come out, and in it the government's proposed to minimize the amount of cash you're allowed to use in a purchase to $10,000. So big companies can't take more than $10,000 cash when they're accepting, like when someone's buying something off them. And this is, of course, under the guise of the company avoiding tax, which, everyone's on board. They don't want big companies ripping off, countries. But obviously there's more sinister motives from my perspective, and I think that control of the money supply is one of them. And this is where Bitcoin powers through, because, cash essentially has been, from its invention up until now, the way to pay without, tyrannical governments tracking, or even, well-meaning governments tracking. And
yes, exactly. Cash is the way for the black market. It's the power of the black market. Everything's done in cash. You never put anything in the bank, otherwise it can be tracked.
That's right.
And I also believe that the government's going to be pushing for digital currencies that have open public ledgers, so that everything is trackable. Nothing that you do can be, they can tax you for everything possible. And I believe that's coming. And I also believe that all of the anonymous coins are going to be hit by government regulations, and they will go underground. They won't be permitted to trade on the exchanges, because the exchanges will get in trouble for promoting something that can be used for money laundering. So any kind of thing that they can say, oh, that's money laundering, this is their main attack point. And if the government can say, we are doing well on stomping down on money laundering and tax evasion, and we are promoting Bitcoin, I think that's going to be one of the catalysts that make Bitcoin go crazy, and it will become actually a mandatory to use some of these public blockchain currencies for any of your purchases in the years to come, because of that. And we have both the good and the sinister sides to that. What the governments will be, I think that's what they'll do.
I'm not sure about Bitcoin being pushed in that way. I think it's much more likely for a government to try and create their own currency in a similar way that they can say, it's like digital cash, it's like Bitcoin, except that they have an infinite supply of printing it. Because I think governments would not relinquish the power of creating new money, and that's something that Bitcoin has successfully done. Is it's turned that into a maths equation and limited the distribution of new funds. It's a deflationary currency in many ways once it gets to a certain point.
This will be interesting to watch it play out over the next 10 years, as the governments are releasing their own digital currencies that they can track everything that you do. And it may be that it's legislated that you must use the Canada coin, the US coin, and you have to transfer between those coins properly so that it can be a taxable transaction, and legislated I can't see them shutting down on Bitcoin and other things that are. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the 10 years. They'll have to interact with those. They'll have to interface with those other platforms and currencies. And I actually see every store that there is having their own digital currency as their points reward program. And
Yeah.
we'll be able to trade those tokens on the free market.
Yeah, and they'll have value. You know, say
Yeah.
goodbye to frequent flyer points that you can only earn and redeem through certain things. You'll be able to, you know, go on to Craigslist or eBay or bartering at the market, and you'll be able to say, you know what, maybe I'll give you 10,000, you know, frequent flyer points or whatever the credit card points are or whatever the loyalty points are as a barter system. But you know, it's definitely going to be interesting to see it all unfold. And of course, you're right. In a public ledger coin like Bitcoin and like the majority of coins, there's records of every transaction, and of course, that means that it's trackable the minute that it's spent for physical goods. So a lot of people, you know, getting rich off cryptocurrencies are, you know, buying cars and houses. At that point, it's obvious who that address is owned by. Whereas with anonymous coins like Monero or Dash or a variety of other coins, Verge and things like that, they, you know, at the point of purchase, that many coins is revealed to be owned by you, but nothing further, and that would scare a lot of governments.
And I have a pessimistic view of the future of the anonymous coins and sold out a good share of the anon coins that I have, and I will be selling out of the rest of them as well because, like you say, they are anonymous until you interact with the world,
Yeah,
and then now you have to answer for how did 100 Monero coin just pop into your Poloniex account? Where did that come from? What was that for? And you'll have to do the tax transactions for all
yes,
those things. So
yes,
it's
to a degree, but corruption is not in the you know, physical goods world. You know what I mean? Like money is power, regardless of your ability to spend it to buy a car or a house asset. You can use money, you know, to do a variety of things, not only black market, but when it comes to corruption or just simply using it as power in other ways. But you know, you were saying before about the next 10 years is going to be interesting to see how the governments react, to see how the money, the people that run the money right now, you know, the Federal
yeah.
Reserve and these giant banks, how are they going to respond? But the big question on my mind is, what do you do? How do you invest most safely to prevent yourself from losing money if these things go bust? Which obviously I don't think is happening. But what's the best way to play it over the next 10 years? It's just hold a bunch and sit back and watch.
I've always played the 1-2-3 formation, and I started practicing that back in 1995. I practiced really hard in paper trading for a number of years. I traded for real. And then from 2009 to 2012 and 13, I practiced very hard inside the game of RuneScape, looking at this pattern. Then cryptos came along, and I've been doing this same pattern. And that's the pattern that I find that it tells me when to get into the market because the mood has changed, the momentum has changed. And it also tells me when to get out of the market. And so I was able to take some fantastic profits in June and July of 2017 and in December, January, just recently, as the markets made a top formation. And that's when I was selling. So it was just the 1-2-3 formation in and out. And it doesn't matter if it's gold and silver. It doesn't matter if it's Apple, Microsoft, any stock. It doesn't matter what it is. As soon as you see these patterns, it's telling you the whole story. You don't need to keep up with the news and the fundamentals. And I would recommend against it, actually, because there's so much fake news, so much pump and crap out there, and so much automated. So much of this is automated through if this, then that, where you have a range of bots all sending out a similar message at in frequencies, intermittent, and then they're retweeting each other, and it's making a big sounding splash, but it's all automated and manipulative. So the more I ignore that stuff and the more I just look at the 1-2-3 formations, the more I'm paying attention to the momentum and the flow of things. And the better I do at it, the more in the markets I've paid attention to the news and everything, those are the ones I did the worst in my trading, because I kept holding on when my top formations were coming in, and I'm going to believe in the market. It's just that, and I ignored my own trading signal. So the 1-2-3 formation for me has been the way to focus on it. But I know that there are other ways to make cryptos, make and earn cryptos, and I want to branch out more into those, because the 1-2-3s I'm trading actually don't take a lot of time.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, one of the things you're doing is running a trading course and teaching others how to, make money in a similar fashion. And of course, you're accepting cryptocurrencies as payment there. So that's one way to earn more.
It is one way to earn more, and I want to open up every different way that I can earn more and help other people. But the most important part of the course stuff coming up is the free course. I think that first third of what I teach there is the most important stuff, and if you get that stuff right, you can learn the second 2/3 of it on your own and do it from just learning from the free videos and the free content out there, like this video here. But that first free training is what I'm most excited about for next week. And as for expanding into earning, if nobody buys my course, that's fine. I want to expand into taking the money I've already made in profits and start getting into things like master nodes and some of the more advanced parts of cryptocurrencies, and start getting those automated passive earnings working for me.
Yeah, well, the offer's still on the table if you want to go ahead and share a Syscoin masternode, but they're pretty expensive, I think, at the moment.
How many coins do you need?
I think you need 100,000, which is the equivalent of about 6 Bitcoins. So it's a bit too high a percentage of my bank, but
It is too high a percentage of my bank right now as well.
yeah, if only Syscoin took a nice dive down to around 2 or 3 thousand Sats mark. It'd be historical lows, but it would at least give me the chance to buy in. And I think their master nodes have now been released, so I think that, I mean, if you look back on Dash Coin and other coins that have switched on masternode, and how that has affected the price, it's been huge growth. So I hope my hope is that Syscoin does a similar thing. But I mean, getting back to what you were saying about the learning this stuff, if it's okay with you, why don't we just go through a couple of markets? Maybe I'll choose a couple for you, and you can choose a couple for me to kind of analyze live, and we can talk through it.
Sure.
Well, one that I am very curious about your thoughts on is the Ethereum market. So let's, on your side, maybe pull up the Ethereum cross Bitcoin market in Poloniex, and we'll have a look. And I'd love to hear your analysis on where you think it's going.
Let me share my screen. Here we have 4 charts I watch all the time. Is the Bitcoin US dollar, the Ethereum US dollar prices. And you can see that we have 1-2-3 top formation not confirmed here in Ethereum, but already confirmed here in Bitcoin, and a bit of a drop going on in Bitcoin. Just the shape of this makes me think everything's coming back and should be retesting these levels at 7,400 for Bitcoin. I would expect a pullback into the 520 level. About the 520 level would be healthy in Ethereum. If I go over to this chart,
I think that would leave us at around about 0.065, 0.066 in versus Bitcoin.
That's right too. So if I go now, here's the Ethereum Bitcoin price on my 3-month bars. There's nothing to worry about. Prices are still way above the lower moving average. And if I had entered during this moving average crossover, then I would have my stop loss just above my entry, and I would wait, and I would give the market time to do whatever it's going to do, and I wouldn't freak out. If it came down and hit my stop loss, okay, I'm out with a little bit of profit, or I'm out at pretty much broken even, and I can watch again for the next entry in the big long-term uptrend, rather than this little 1-month wave. So that's sort of
Look at
how
that one
my
month wave though. Doesn't that look like it's part of a larger 1, 2, 3?
it is part of a larger 1, 2, 3. And if we go to the 5-year view and get rid of that first zip, this is a massive triangle building up here. And I do believe it's going to be breaking much, much higher, probably 10 times higher from where it is now.
But if
And we
that's
can just do this simple, how long has this been, and stand that straight up. And that would give us
that'll take us to around zero point 0.2 bitcoins.
0.2, yep. 0.2 Bitcoin from where it is now. So it should be trending up faster than Bitcoin. But I would also say that there is lots of time for the bots to have their fun whipsawing everybody who's getting excited as it gets close, and everybody's close. And there's lots of time yet for the decision to come in. I'm hoping that it just comes down a little bit and then bounces and starts on the trend upward, because I'm biased and I have a bunch of it and I want it to go higher.
Yep.
But this is what I'm seeing for most all the markets. Actually, they're all trending in a similar pattern. This one's at historical lows. So there's my thing on Ethereum, is that it really is building up for something much, much bigger.
Now, just to change things up a little bit with the pace here, you mentioned earlier that you sometimes dabble in gold and other world markets. I heard that oil has taken a huge run up recently.
I haven't been paying attention to oil, and I will chastise myself for that, because I was paying close attention to it through the time when it was down at $20 a barrel.
Oh, is this
Oil Illinois gold? I don't know.
No, that's Owens. Hang on. Pull up Brent oil. Do we have it? Or
U.S. oil, Brent crude oil.
Crude oil Brent there. Yeah, that's the one. Brent crude.
Yeah, see, and I was dabbling in it when it was at around $20 here and $30, and then I did not trade this breakout here. A nice 1, 2, 3 bottom formation breakout, and I didn't trade it because I was listening to the FUD on social media. Instead of just blindly looking at my charts and seeing the obvious, put the trade on, put your stop loss in the right place, and play the odds. When this trading formation happens, you've got to just do it. Whether you believe it or not, you have to do it. Trade the plan. And afterwards, you'll be proven correct or not. But
when was the last time it was this high? It was back in 2014.
It's past the place where I can trade. It's already past my entry point. So now I have to wait for it to do something and come back. But if I go to the 1 week view, then we can see in 2016 was the low, and here is the second, or we get 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, and as it crossed there, that's the final real buy signal. But you can see if you bought a 1, 2, 3, there's a buy. 2, 3. If you had bought here or bought here, then you're screwed. If you had bought in here, then you'd have been screwed. You know, it's a very difficult thing to get into just at the right time. And so it is a policy to get in and use that stop loss in case it's a fake out breakout. And then get in when it breaks above and put your stop loss in case it's a fake out breakout. Put your trade in, and then it went above and there's nothing to do but wait. So if you had to put your stop loss just above your entry point here, prices never came back and touched it. You finally got a good entry on the trade, and there's nothing to do but wait for it to go. And by the same point that if you could flip a coin and buy anytime, and then use rule number 1. If it doesn't prove you correct immediately, you sell out of it. If it proves you correct, you put your stop loss just above your entry and you wait. And it's actually a trading system that would work by using that risk control, the rule number 1 and rule number 2 from Phantom of the Pits.
That stuff is just so important, and something I never thought was important when I first was learning about. I mean, you know, when I dabbled earlier in with Forex or with other, even stock trading. I was when I was in high school, actually, probably like 15 years ago or something. I came second in the country or in the state or something like that in a share, like a hypothetical share market trading.
Really?
Yeah, and it was all based on the fact that I understood what liquidity was, and no one else did, because the hypothetical share market game didn't require any liquidity to be in place for a buy or a sell order to be executed. And so what that meant was essentially that I would look at the cheapest coin that would fluctuate between 1 cent, and I would just continuously buy at the low and sell it at the high, even though in a real market there wouldn't be that same liquidity to sell the bulks that I was selling or to buy the bulks that I was buying at those prices. So,
Yeah.
and I went ahead and did that again the next year. I think in the actual not in the school competition, but in the nations competition, and then I won doing the same thing.
That is pretty tricky. And I think that on futures markets, you would be able to do that. There is, when you put on a futures trade, there's no liquidity problem. If you're trading on like one broker, there's no liquidity problem.
That's an over the counter kind of CFD essentially, right?
Yeah, it's a CFD that's trading on the price of something and not actually buying and selling it.
Yeah,
And
true.
so
But
when
in
you
any
put on
sort
a
of
huge
exchange,
trade,
then you're going to have issues where you need to match a seller with a buyer. I think with a futures exchange, it is, it might be a very large entity trying to sell something at a certain point, whereas an over-the-counter, like one broker, I think it's one broker that actually backs it and goes the other
yes,
way with it.
yes, I do believe that they lose if you win. So I'm certain that they don't do this. They don't offer the CFDs in the really low liquidity markets because people could put on a massive trade to the long side, sell the daylights out of that market, and make a huge profit on their leverage trade, switch the leverage trade the other way, and buy that market. And you really move it around back and forth while they're taking their profits out of the leverage trade in the CFD market. And this is
Yeah.
one of the reasons that the SEC in the United States is so slow to let the exchange traded funds set up on the price of Bitcoin, because they believe that Bitcoin prices can be manipulated. And so then anybody who's not educated and who's trading those exchange traded funds would get milked out of their money because it's actually a manipulated market.
Mm.
So we'll see as the liquidity picks up in Bitcoin over time. But we really did just break an important top formation chart pattern here in Bitcoin.
It's strange, but the longer that I've been in, well, it's not really strange, but the longer I've been in Bitcoin, and the more twists and turns I've seen in the market, the longer time frame my own internal emotional compass is based on. Whereas in the past, if it goes up $50 or goes down $50, I would feel good or feel bad because of what I'm holding. And now that is shifting more and more to the longer time frame. So it's almost as if I'm changing my own internal candles from the 15-minute to the 4-hour to the 12-hour, and looking at those longer term trends, because it is up. It's up. It's way up. And of course, I like you am very bullish. I think even more. I think even more than 80,000.
Well, I'm hoping so, because I've got some locked away in cold storage, and the higher it goes, the better. But
I think my top point would be next top point would be around 240,000 maybe. I think.
Wow, I'm hoping that works out. That would be fantastic. Because imagine what that would do for all of the other altcoins as well. It's unthinkable. It's unimaginable. And I think that potential has got everybody excited and so many people into it that it is good to talk about this longer term view of things. I also, when I first started trading, I was in and out very, very much zoomed into the closer term view. And as I studied 4 different trading methods, I had 4 different accounts. One of them really kicked ass over the other ones, and it was the easiest method to trade. It was the longest term. It was the most relaxed method to trade. And so I've been really shifting my own internal candles to adopting that longer term time frame as well. And it's something I hope that we can share with more people and start to see some more people following this and doing this similar pattern, because I think it's fantastic profit and really good for their lifestyle as well.
It's very true. Well, just I guess we should probably wrap things up shortly, but before we do, I wanted to ask you one question I wrote down here, which is, aside from the technical analysis, aside from the trading these patterns, is there any crypto projects that you're really excited about, that you think will increase in value, that you like what they're doing?
I got to say that I am a real cryptocurrency noob, and I don't read white papers. I don't really have that much skill using wallets and things like that. I've never set up a master node yet, although I'm getting all prepared for it and have enough coins to do it. So I really am a proponent of Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies, but more so I trade the 1, 2, 3 bottoms, and I want to just make profit off of it. And I found that the less I know about the project and the more I focus on just on the chart patterns, the more profit I make. The markets that I've studied the most and I believed in the most, then my belief in the project overrode my belief in my trading system. And I didn't sell when I should have. And I held all sorts of losing trades in the markets I knew the most about and I believed the most in.
Yep.
So I'm kind of I'm opposite to most of the crypto guys who are talking about all the projects and what they're doing, what they're going to change in the world. And if they do, I'll see it in the chart pattern that everybody is buying into it. I'll see this momentum in it, and I don't need to watch the news because it takes so much time. And then I'm not creating anything of my own. I'm absorbing what other people's, it's like watching soap opera where somebody imagined the story and other people are pretending to play the imagined story, and you are spending time of your life watching it. It's a distraction. And so most of those things I don't pay attention to. There's too much development for me to possibly keep up on. And so I want to focus on the part of it that makes me money so that I can have a more relaxed life.
I like it. At the end of the day, these sort of things, the adoption will play out in the charts. If something has value, it's going to make the right formations and present you with an opportunity.
It's one of the reasons I never did any promotions of ICOs, and I never invested in any of them except for Lisk. And then I lost my wallet. So I've got 500 Lisk that I can't.
Shite. Well, I've been there, man. Don't worry about it. I sold my my Bitcoin Cash. I sold that way too early. I thought it was a dud.
Oh, yeah. I kept selling and selling and selling, and I'm holding if any comes in through referral earnings where I was getting my Bitcoin Cash. But you're right, I didn't trade that. I didn't trade that well when I saw it making my chart formation.
Did you get the fork initially when you had the Bitcoins?
Yeah, but I wasn't holding that much Bitcoin. I was holding a lot of cryptos, and what Bitcoin I had on Poloniex lending, and they gave my Bitcoin Cash to the person who was borrowing the Bitcoin instead of to me.
Well, that's how it's meant to be. They're borrowing it. They get the fork. Let me rephrase the question, because you said you don't really like to read. You're not reading white papers. You're not delving into the stories about these different coins. But here's a kind of trick way of asking you that question. If you couldn't trade a coin, you're not allowed to trade it for 20 years, and you pop the cold wallet into a time capsule, it stays there for 20 years. What are the maybe 2 or 3 projects or coins that you think are going to win that race 20 years down the line? You can't open it for 20 years.
Well, actually, when my daughter was born, we put away Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin into paper wallets and locked them into the safety deposit box of the bank. And she is to get those after she graduates university.
Nice. So they're the 3.
There's your 20-year time capsule. And there's my 3, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin.
You'll live in the time capsule.
And so we'll see how if she's a millionaire when she graduates university, and I hope so that she spends her time focusing on creating what she likes in the world, what she wants in the world, rather than having to work for somebody else's ideas and goals.
Yeah.
Which isn't all bad, it's not bad at all, so long as it helps you towards your own life goals.
But it's amazing the perspective that I got because I obviously worked a job for a number of, well, many, many years. And recently went back, but I had this big chunk of time in the middle there where I didn't. And it just has given me so much perspective. It gave me choice when it comes to, selecting a job that I do want to take part in, a project that I want to work on. It gives me choice in what they pay me. It gives me so much more choice, and to give that as a gift to your children, I think is noble. It's good.
Yeah, it's I have to credit the people I learned from, Psycho-Cybernetics, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And when I review those guys, they're already dead, and people are still just picking up their book for the first time and reading it. And so you can look back on somebody else's life and learn from them. You can look back on somebody else's trading and learn from them. And it's given me the perspective that, the longer term, more than just the 12-hour candles. Now I'm thinking of the, longer than my own lifetime. I want to leave something, hopefully, that these other guys did too, that will be a benefit longer than I exist. And I hope to leave that kind of idea with more and more people, because at least you work on something all the time. I think there's a lot of retired people who have so many skills and they haven't thought of packaging those skills into something that is going to last longer than them.
Mm.
And they are just in retirement and they are just coasting along, and there's so much value in what they could be doing with their time. There's so much satisfaction they could be getting out of their daily routine by thinking about something that's going to benefit people even after you're gone. So it's
well, I mean, let's just briefly. I don't know if you have to go. Feel free to cut me off if you need to get out of here. But that's their choice, right? So they sit down, they coast along, they're happy to be in retirement, so to speak. But I think a lot of people in life coast along and play the victim, or allow things to be, allow their life to happen to them. Whereas I think, reading some of these books you're mentioning, Money's My Friend is another book. I'm almost finished, by the way. I'm using a Australian $5 note as a bookmark. But some these books, they teach you about money and about using money as a tool to get you more money and to give you power. They give you a sense of self-responsibility and purpose in your life. So those retirees, they don't have that. They've probably never had that, which is sad. But
maybe
you're right, and that they could educate so many people about so many different things. And it's not just retirees, it's people that have immense skills. I have friends, and you probably do as well, that when you talk to them and they're talking about a particular passion of theirs, they have incredible skill and knowledge about that. And if they could package that up and be dedicated to creating something to teach others, or to use that talent to contribute in some way to the world, it would be so beneficial.
Yep. And I believe you are right that many people just drift through life, and Facebook tries to measure how much engagement they get from you, which is essentially a great deal of drifting. Spending time on Twitter, watching television, all of these things are engagement so that they can get advertisers to sell you things. But essentially, it's drifting and not having a mission of your own that you're spending your time on. And I mentioned Think and Grow Rich. I know we're off the topic of cryptocurrencies, but it's actually this topic that you can then turn to cryptocurrencies and utilize them to make these goals. But Think and Grow Rich talks about how to create something of value and give it out to the world so that you get paid in return. And it is the positive side of how to get what you want. Then Napoleon Hill wrote the book, The Negative Side of How to Avoid Not Getting What You Don't Want, if I said that right. And that book is called Outwitting the Devil. And in that book, he talks as though he's interviewing the devil himself. And the devil talks about how drifting is one of his first things to get people into the, off track, is to get them to just waste time, just to drift through as though their days are unlimited and life is permanent. So that perspective that you do die, and think about life in a more of 1,000-year perspective rather than 2 weeks from now till payday, is that's what those books give me in a perspective, and it gives me the patience then for this cryptocurrency trading to look into that 18-month future, make a decision now, and just do nothing, wait for the markets to do the work for me. And it's those thoughts that I hope to share more in the first part of the free course, where I teach about how to think about money, how to make money, and how to grow it. So those 3 things, if you know how to think about money, you'll feel good about it. You're going to do better things with it. If you know how to make money, you can keep doing that over and over again. That's making money out of nothing. And then if you know how to make that money grow and work for you, you just keep repeating, make money, make it grow, make money, make it grow, make money, make it grow. And pretty soon that changes the way you think and feel about money in profound ways. And that accelerates how much you make money and make it grow. And pretty soon you have your own freedom just from those 3 seeds of how to think about money, how to make it, and how to make it grow. Everything else is taken care of from there.
Essentially, what you're saying is, in a life perspective, is instead of thinking from the perspective of looking at the next 2 weeks until payday, looking at the 1,000-year, you're applying that same strategy of trading into life. And you're saying, take the bigger candles viewpoint, zoom out, not to the 2-week candle, but look at the year candle, look at the 2-year candle.
The 20-year candle, because the things you do today can have that butterfly effect. It's a small thing, and 20 years later, that small thing, that small decision can have profound changes in your life. So paying attention to the things that feel good and are awesome is really key, so that you're not drifting. And 20 years later, you look back and it's like that Pink Floyd song where, 10 years have gone by and I missed the starting gun.
Yeah.
Because I just drifted 10 years. What?
Yeah.
So focus
Facebook
on
makes
stuff.
money off that.
Yeah.
But it's what are you doing now? Not for 2 weeks from now, 1 year from now. What are you doing now for your daughter in 20 years, or for people after you die? And when I look at the Bitcoin chart, and right from the start of this conversation, we talked about where we think it's going and what could possibly happen. It's right now, this maybe year-long section that we have to still get Bitcoin relatively cheap is just an accumulation phase. We just need to put in everything we have. We need to gather our eggs and put them all in one hypothetical basket.
I'm all in for it, and I'm in for it on the micro scale, though. I'm at the little micro things are the most important to me, and I try to feel the success of the 18-month profit right now when I'm putting in that little bit of extra earnings that I made from a referral program, and I take that extra bit of Bitcoin and I put it into a market. I try to feel the whole success of the entire trade at that moment. So every day I save a little bit of money and I put it to work for me, I try to feel the success of the end result as I'm doing the little action here today. So I try to make that big feeling of success from this little action. And I also trying in my life to feel the big negative consequence for any negative thing that I do, any negative little thing that I do, a negative habit in my life. I'm trying to feel the lifelong consequences for that at the moment, which helps me stop doing things that I want to stop doing and improve on things in my life.
I've now it's day 60 for me of doing every day I exercise and every day I meditate and every day I journal. So I have a little routine that I do every single day to recuperate, and I just, the meditation aspect of it, I can't stress enough. I'm not sure if you're a meditator, but it just has cleared my head and given me so much control of my thoughts and my power, and those moments where people would normally feel overwhelmed and they have to sit in front of the TV or in front of Facebook for 2 hours just so they can get the life sucked out of them. I just feel that there's such a resistance to that. Um,
I haven't been doing the meditating, though I've been reading about meditating.
mm,
So it is something that I need to do. I was reading Joe Dispenza's work and talking about neuroplasticity and the process of calming the mind and then putting a picture in the mind that is something that you want, getting excited about it while you are meditating is
yeah,
the sort of the same as having signal to noise ratio reduction. If you were
yeah.
listening to 10 radio stations at once, you couldn't really pick out what any of them were saying. But if you turn it off all other 9, then this one's very clear. And for me, this is the theory of what meditation is doing or to do for you. And yet I don't sit, close my eyes, do the deep breathing and meditate.
Well, I mean, I spend probably half of the time that I do a meditation, I'll follow a guided meditation, and there's a bunch on YouTube. They're free, 15 minutes. That's all. That's all I do. You probably have more success if you did more, but I find I need to have something relatively short so that I'll stick with it for a longer period of time. Because I think that with meditation, more important than the time you put in is the momentum and the consistency of doing it every single day. So even if it's
Frequency,
just
yeah.
5 minutes, and that's one of the things that I learned doing it, is that at the start it seems very easy to commit 5 minutes a day to anything. Anyone
Mhm.
can say I can commit five. I've got spare 5 minutes to do deep breathing, but there's a real difficulty. There's a sincere
Mhm.
difficulty when you get to day 15 and you've had a rough day at work, or you've gotten a fine on your windscreen of your car, or maybe you've had
Mhm.
some bad news in other ways, and it's really hard to still commit to that 5 minutes. And so I had to choose some time frame that I thought was appropriate, that I could do despite those hypothetical bad days. But so that's why I selected that arbitrary figure, 15 minutes. But I'm sure you could get more benefit from doing more. But the main benefit is from the momentum of every single day showing yourself and respecting yourself enough to care and do something like that.
Yes, and if you make that agreement with yourself and it's small enough, then you can keep the agreement. Then you feel good about when you're doing more of it, and it adds on and it adds on. If you start off with too big of a goal, then you don't keep the agreement with yourself, then you're feeling anxious and guilty as you approach it the next time, and you undid yourself by biting off more than you could chew.
Yep.
So I did the same when I got back into exercising. I would go and swim for a half an hour, and I would get out at the half hour, even if I could do more, just to keep that commitment to myself that I'm only going to do a half an hour, and my internal self knew it would only be a half an hour, and we both kept the agreement, and it worked out well
That's
by
right.
starting off small.
So if you start going more, or if you start going less, then you're breaking those rules to yourself, and you're showing your unconscious mind that you can't be trusted.
Yeah, and then the unconscious mind says, well, I'm not going to go because you're going to make me do more than half an hour, and our deal was a half an hour.
Yep.
So all those things are important. Amazing after a lifetime of studying how the subtleties really work. The law of
Yeah.
attraction really works.
Yeah, it's amazing. And during meditation, of course, your mind drifts, and the idea is that you try and catch it and return your focus. But sometimes, if I'm doing a visualization, like a guided meditation on YouTube, I'll let my mind just wander, and it'll usually wander to those things that I want in my future. And as you were saying before about turning off those other frequencies, and I know Dispenza is big on the law of attraction and kind of focusing your mind on what you do want. It's really, really powerful. One other thing with respect to that I've found is that there's a continuation of thinking of those things you want if you can dissociate from yourself in that image. As an example, if you have a car that you really want to buy, you might
Mhm.
imagine what it's like to drive that car, in your future when you're able to buy it. But I find it's really important to actually take a step back and look at yourself through the window of that car so that you can see how happy you are in that car, And also, it creates this
Okay.
distance from I am here and this is where I'm getting to. I find that if you're in the car experiencing the drive, it's almost like you're getting a hit of the drug, and so you don't have that separation as much.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just something I'll throw in
I,
there.
I I do like it. It's part of the what I would say is, I can't remember who it was now. I learned from neuro linguistic programming to have that third person view of yourself, to float outside of yourself and go over across the room and view yourself from across the room.
Yeah. Exactly, exactly, and it creates this rubber band. They say that you have your unconscious mind wants to get back to that feeling, and because you're dissociated from it, it's pushing you back. It's seeking. It's finding the opportunities in the billions of bits of information that are filtered through your beliefs. It's finding the right ones so to put the steps in place to get you back to that place.
Yes, and I like that you're talking about how your mind filters through the things that you believe, and it does not filter through the knowledge that you have. It only filters through the beliefs that you have. So it'll
Yes.
quickly go through the knowledge and you say, yeah, yeah, I should do that, which already says you're not going to do it. When I say I should, you're already saying I'm not going to, and I'm feeling guilty that I'm not. And so one of the things I like to teach in the course is to give this knowledge about the simple trading plan, but then to give the excitement and the emotional connection that turns that knowledge into a belief that you can actually sit through these long trades and not get freaked out when the market's doing what it's doing, because you have a bigger belief that you're holding on to and working in coordination with, rather than knowledge that you're not really believing in yet. So that's I like that analogy about how your brain sorts through the things that you believe to try to find them and bring them into your life.
First change those beliefs and the other things, and you will find the opportunities to make that money and make the money work for you. But I'm 100% aligned with what you're talking about with that first part of the course there, the part you give away for free, where those beliefs are kind of laid down as the foundation, being very much the most important part.
Yeah, it's the most fun part. And for me, every time I redo the course, I think this is number 7 or maybe number 8, every time I redo the course, I relearn all this stuff. I have to go through and edit everything and get ready to present it, so it brings it all more clear into my mind every single time. And I think that's been a profound part of my own success.
Amazing. Well, I think we're pretty much we've gone way too long anyway. We got off into the woods there for a little bit, but it's
Yeah,
been really great talking to you, and hopefully we will get a few thumbs up on this video, and we'll do it again soon.
I like going off into the woods like this. I don't think there are very many crypto trading channels that are off into the woods like this at all. I think everybody's focused on the technology and focused on the things that it just takes up my time, and it doesn't help my trading. So hopefully focusing on this kind of off in the woods things, and then coming back to the charts and seeing how the two relate to each other, I think we can help people get more successful, more profits. And of course, it'll improve our own skills, and we'll become more and more wealthy just because we're following all these things.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, Doug. I'm going to stop the broadcast now, and we'll chat again soon.
All right. Thanks again for having me on, and I look forward to having you on my channel too.
Awesome. Great.
Cheers for now.
All right, just stop that now.